Today on Match Play. Host Ray Adams goes head-to-head with legendary recording artist Rockin Reggie Vincent. Hit it, hit it!
Welcome to Match Play, and I'm having fun already just singing some old songs with my guest, Rockin Reggie Vincent,
buddy.
Right here on Match Play.
Nice to be here.
Rockin
Nice to
Reggie
be here.
Vincent on Match Play, unbelievable. Reggie, I've known about you and I've listened to your music,
Yeah.
but I really didn't put two and two together until I met you recently, and then I realized, oh, this is that Reggie Vincent.
Yeah.
This is Rockin Reggie Vincent.
I've been around it and since Moby Dick was a minnow. I tell you, I've been at this is my 50th year. I've been in the
50
music.
years.
50 years in the music business.
Golden anniversary.
Yeah, and just doing it, what I love, and it just, I'm just really blessed to live this long and tell stories.
Well, do you feel like you're just getting going now?
Yeah, I do. Some days I just feel like I need to write another song. I've written over 2,000 songs.
Okay, let's get going here. We've got to get this down.
Can you imagine that?
Where did you grow up, and who gave you the first guitar, and when did you start writing these songs?
Page one.
Let's start there.
Yeah, page one. Oh, I was born in Nashville.
Yeah.
I was raised in, my aunt was Minnie Pearl from
Whoa,
Grand Ole Opry.
whoa! Your aunt was who?
Minnie Pearl, Grand Ole
Minnie
Opry.
Pearl from the Grand Ole Opry. She was a comedian.
Yeah.
And she sang and did
She'd
everything.
say, she said, howdy.
Howdy.
I'm
and
so
she
proud
had
to be
the price
here.
tag on her hat
That's
all the
right.
time.
That's
now,
right.
why did she have the price tag on her hat? How did that start?
She said that was just from one of her aunts, and she tried the hat on, and everybody laughed, and she left it on as a gimmick.
For her whole career?
Yeah, her whole career until she died. And she was
So your
great.
aunt was Minnie Pearl.
And then guess who my cousin was? Pat Boone.
Pat Boone is your cousin?
My third cousin.
Pat Boone has been on this television show.
He's my third cousin.
And he loved being on the show.
Yeah, that's good.
And had asked us to send, we had to send him a copy of the episode he was on.
Great. So I grew up in Nashville, and then as a teenager we moved to Detroit, and I started my career in Detroit.
Sure.
And so I got involved with Motown. Well, my first guitar was a K guitar from Sears and Roebuck's, and my mother was a gospel singer, and she traveled around singing and picking and grinning and singing under the tent meetings and traveled around. She sung, and then one day I was coming home from school and I heard Elvis Presley on the radio. I said, man, who is this,
Oh.
And he was
Now,
saying,
was he singing a gospel song or
he
was he rocking and rolling?
No, he was rocking and rolling. He was doing Jailhouse Rock.
Oh.
Down, bam, bam. He was rocking and rolling. I came running home. I said, Mama, I just heard this music. Who is this? She said, I don't know. And I said, can you teach me how to play guitar? And she says, well, I guess. So she started teaching me what a friend we have in Jesus.
Sure.
And I said,
well, she was a gospel singer.
It's a gospel singer. I said, no, I want to play some rock and roll. And she says, well, I know one guy named, one song called Hello, Mary Lou by Ricky Nelson.
Ricky Nelson?
Yeah, from the Ozzie and Harriet show.
Sure.
And I said, I'm just like, 10 years old. And I said, I wanted to, so she taught me to play Hello, Mary Lou. And then from there, I started growing. And then when I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan's show, it changed my life. I said, that's all I want to do. I want to be like that.
Now, whatever happened to Elvis in that
I loved Elvis too, but after I heard Elvis was always great. And
but the Beatles really caught you.
But when I saw the Beatles,
you wanted to be like that.
Yeah, man, it caught my eye. I thought, man, like that.
So you were in Detroit at this time.
In Detroit.
They came on the Ed Sullivan Show in the 1960s.
Yeah, 64,
This caught
65.
your attention, and what did you do after that?
Okay, I really went in my basement, turned up my amp all the way, and I started learning to play G, C, and D, and learning.
And you had an electric guitar.
I had an electric guitar.
G, C, and D. I can play those.
And today they're still popular.
Sure.
I mean, And so I started learning to do that, and then one thing led to another, and then here I am today with you doing a show.
Oh, there's a nod of here you are today. That's the beginning and the end, Reggie, but there's a whole 50 years of middle. Let's go to the middle. So what happened? You've written 2,000 songs. What was your first song that you ever wrote?
Oh.
You remember it?
Oh, yeah. In 1968, I had a record I called Don't Know Where to Start. And it was a local radio song.
And they played it.
And they played it on the radio.
Sing 2 or 3 bars. You remember
it? Was sort of like the Birds. Don't know where to start. I don't know where to start. Don't know where to start. 12 string.
12 string. Oh, wow.
12 string.
All right, so you kept writing music.
And so I got a hit record.
You got? Oh, what?
So I got a hit record. I got a hit record with that song on the radio in Detroit.
Oy.
And so I had this big dream. My record label says, "Why don't you go to Detroit?" From Detroit, and go to New York City and meet Bob Johnson, Bob Dylan's record producer.
Bob
Dylan, and maybe he'll sign you to Columbia Records now that you have a local hit.
Did you go?
So here's what I did. And so I had my mom take me to the bus station. I had my guitar, a little suitcase, and about $50 in me, and my guitar, suitcase, and a little amplifier. And so I had 3 little pieces with me. So I get on the bus and I ride all day long, all night long on the bus. And finally I get into New York and I'm listening to this little transistor radio, you know. Transistor radio, that's how.
We all had them.
I know. And so so I'm listening to Lovin' Spoonfuls, Hot Town in the Summer in the City, Summer in the City, Lovin' Spoonfuls. I'm listening to that, and it's on the AM radio. We had AM radio back then.
Well,
and that was the big deal, and it's still great. And so I get off the bus and I start walking down the street. So I'm looking for the building to go to see, because I want to meet Bob Johnson.
Yeah.
I want to make a big deal.
He didn't know you were coming?
No, they made an appointment.
Oh, you had one? Oh, okay.
They had made an appointment that I was coming.
So what happened?
So it's a funny story. And so I'm carrying my little guitar, my little amplifier, and my little suitcase. I'm walking down the street, and I turn the corner, and here come a bunch of long-haired rock and rollers. And then they say, "Hey, man, you play music?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going to go see Bob Johnson. And, he said, "Oh, he handles Bob Dylan." I said, "Yeah, I got an appointment here. I'm Rockin Reggie." And they said, "Who are you?" And they said, "We're the Loving Spoonful." And I said, "What?" I was just listening
to you.
Yeah, just listening to it. And they said, "Well, listen, we're playing down to the Village tonight. Come on down, bring a guitar. You can jam with us on stage."
Unbelievable.
And I said, "All right, I'll do that." So I go in. Elevator, and I go all the way up to the top suite. I get off there and I said, "I'm Rockin Reggie. I'm here to meet Bob Johnson." And they said, "I'm looking at him." "Okay, great. Just sit down over there. Make yourself at home." So I sit down there, and so I just take my guitar out of the case. I'm tuning it up. I decided just to plug it in. So I plug in the amplifier and I hit this A chord. Bah! And then it's real loud. And Bob Johnson comes on and says, "What the hell are you doing?" He said, "Hey, this is a business ours." I said, "I'm sorry." And I felt about that big. I said, "Sorry, man, I was just playing, you know." He said, "You can't do this. This is an office." He said, "Don't you?" And just then Bob Dylan walks in.
No.
I swear on the Bible. And Bob Dylan walks in. He's got a pair of dark sunglasses on. He walks in. He didn't say one word. I said, "Oh, my God, I'm here with Bob Johnson and Bob Dylan." He said, "Hey, kid, don't you have an acoustic guitar?" He said, "Man, this is an office. You can't play like that."
He knew who you were at that point,
Yeah, he
though.
knew who it was. And so he said, "There's a shop, there's a music store right down the street here. Go get you an acoustic and I'll listen to you."
Oh.
So I said,
just no big deal, go buy one.
Yeah, so I pack up my guitar, pick up my amplifier, grab my little suitcase, So I go down the elevator and I go down the street, and it's a pawn shop.
Pawn shop.
So I went into the pawn shop. I said, "Man, I need a good guitar for about 15 minutes. He said, "How much is it?" And he asked me how much, and I said, "Oh, man." I said, "I'll tell you what, I'll leave all my stuff here, and I'll give you my $50, and let me use your guitar for a few minutes. I'm just going down to the office. He said, okay. So he lets me have the acoustic guitar.
So you did it, you went back, what happened?
And so I go up the elevator and like that, and all of a sudden Bob Johnson walks in and he says, okay, kid, what do you got? So I play my hit song. He said, what else you got? And I said, oh, okay. So I started maybe doing Turn, Turn, Turn by the Birds. And he said, all right, kid, what else you got? So I think about it. Well, I'll play original. So I played the original. He looked at me and he said, so there goes my dream. I think, here I am. I'm gonna be on Columbia Records. Oh man, I'm all excited. And he stood up and he says, you ain't got it, kid.
Don't go away. We'll be right back after these messages. And now back to more Match Play with Ray Adams.
So let's keep going, folks. So you know that the strong survives. Reggie, you have how many gold records?
I have 23 awards and 10 gold and platinum records.
10 gold and platinum records. Could you just, very humbly, which you are.
Yeah, thank you.
Could you rattle off a couple of 2 or 3 of those gold and platinum records for us, who you played with and what they were?
First record that I did, and it was of a lady named, a blues singer named Etta James.
No.
Yeah. So I was playing at a club one night.
Etta James.
Etta James. And I walked. I was playing up on stage, and she walked in, and I recognized who she is. She said, "Hey, boy, can I play a song with you in your band?" You know. And she was real drunk, you know. And I said, "Yeah, of course." She got up there and she started singing, "At last."
Maybe one of the greatest love songs.
My love has come along.
Yeah.
So I.
Who else?
All right. Right after that, she introduced me to Chuck Berry.
Chuck Berry.
Yeah. So I got a great story on that one too. And but I met Chuck, and I went to Ohio. I went to Illinois. Columbus, Ohio. I went to Columbus, Ohio, and he was doing the state fair, and he offered $500 to pay for a band to back him up. And so for about a month, I learned I played rhythm guitar with my band. And
was that Bobby London and the Bobbies?
No, I changed it back to Rockin Reggie band.
Rockin Reggie's band.
I went back to the Rockin Reggie.
And you got the 500 and played with Chuck Berry.
So I played with Chuck Berry.
Unbelievable.
And then from there, I was doing a show with Ted Nugent one night.
Ted Nugent?
Yeah, I was playing with Ted Nugent, and then Alice Cooper was on the show.
Alice Cooper
was on the show. It was Rockin Reggie, Ted Nugent, and Alice Cooper. So I opened.
And where were you?
I was in Detroit.
You're back in Detroit, and that's where Alice Cooper's from.
Right, he's from. And so I sit there, and I opened the show, and then Ted and I went backstage, and we was drinking and getting high and everything. And Alice came on. He had a bunch of feathers in the bag and a pillow, and he broke the feathers, and he did all this stuff. And we went backstage, and we got along real well. And so Alice says, "I'm going to Chicago, and I'm going to do some records. Why don't you come to Chicago and sing with me?"
So you did.
So I went to Chicago, and he did an album called Killer, and I end up singing on that, and it was it was Under My Wheels and Be My Lover. So I sung on those songs with that, and they released the album, and there was a song called 18 on the album, and it came out, and it became gold, and then I got a gold record for that. And then it went platinum, and I got a platinum for that.
Wow.
And then we went to he asked me to go to Puerto Rico with him. I went to Puerto Rico with Alice Cooper. We went down there, and we worked up the song called School's Out for Summer.
You were part of the writing team for that?
I
worked it up.
Yes, I helped. What I did, he asked me, I sung on it, and I worked on the album. And if you open the album, it says special guest guitar and vocalist Rockin Reggie Vincent. And
that went gold.
That went gold. Then it went platinum. And then we was in Puerto Rico, and then we did all of that. And we just became best friends and everything. And then I went to, he asked me one day, he says, "I'm going to write another project. Want to see what you can come up with." So I come up with a song called $1 Billion Babies. And I wrote that with him. He wrote the words, and Donovan sung with me, and I sung on it and played guitar, some rhythm guitar on the album. And it sold triple platinum. Well, and then I left that, and then I started doing, I was in New York City, and when I was doing some background for the Righteous Brothers with Bobby Hatfield, and him and I was doing some songs. And so this guy came up to me, Shelly Yeagus. He's an engineer there. He said, "Hey, Rockin, do you play bass?" And I said, no, not really. He said, that's too bad, because John Lennon's downstairs and he's looking for a bass player.
John Lennon is downstairs?
Downstairs in the
and
studio.
needs a bass player.
Yeah, I said, oh, I play bass.
I play great bass.
I play bass.
So what happened?
And so I go down, and so he, you know, I get all excited and everything, and I go downstairs, and I open the room, and there's John Lennon, and he's standing there, and he hands me a bottle of whiskey. He doesn't say this is Rockin Reggie. He doesn't say anything. He hands me a bottle of whiskey. And I said, all right, so I took a little sip of that, because I don't really drink. And so I took a little sip to be friendly, and I handed it back to him. He said, is that all you're going to drink? And like that. And I said, okay. So he handed me, and I took a big sip, and it burnt down my
And by
throat.
that time, you were a great bass player.
Yeah, right. And so he says, you want to play some rock and roll with me? So I went in there, he introduced me to Harry Nilsson, Jay Giles. He was,
Unbelievable.
was in there. And so just then, as I'm sitting down, and I'm, you know, and they bring me a bass to play, and I did play a little bass, but not much. I'm not a bass player. I can play 2 or 3 G, C, and D. I can play chords.
But you played well enough to play with John
And so we started playing a little bit of bebopalula. We started playing a little bebopalula, and then walks these 2 guys, and he walks over and he says, hey man, can I meet John Lennon? He said, I met him once before, but I don't know if you remember me. I said, well, sure, you know, like that. So I walks over and I act like I knew John all my life.
Because you guys have been friends for minutes.
Yeah, just minutes. And so I walk over and I said, John, this is Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel.
Simon and Garfunkel? Yeah. You can't be.
Yeah.
This is like a who's who of history of rock and roll and music.
It's all true story.
It's unbelievable. So you were the one that introduced
John to Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel.
And what did Lennon do with him?
And so he said he handed him a bottle of whiskey. That's all he did. He handed him a bottle of whiskey. So Paul
Did they drink?
Yeah, Paul took a sip, and he said, you want to play some rock and roll? So Paul took out his little acoustic guitar. So it was Paul Simon on acoustic, Rockin Reggie on bass, John Lennon on rhythm guitar, Harry Nilsson on drums, and Jay Giles or Peter Wolf on piano.
And Garfunkel was singing?
And he was sitting over with some chick in the corner.
He was sitting with a girl.
Some girl in the corner. And they were sitting there smoking a joint, you know, and that's the way it went. And so the record came out, and it became a hit record. And
what was that?
And it was the rock and roll album with John Lennon.
And you were on it?
Yeah, I'm on it.
And you did a gold record?
Yeah, and I got a gold record.
Don't go away. We'll be right back after these messages. And now back to more Match Play with Ray Adams.
Reggie, thank you so much for your signature. Look, he's got the movie star rock and roll signature too. Without that, you know, you can't be anybody. You got to have that signature. Reggie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You know, I know with all of your career, your gold, your platinum, all the people you've played with and jammed with and recorded with over the years, I know that somewhere along the way, your life changed.
Yeah.
And you became a person of faith, the same faith as Alice Cooper and so many other entertainers and regular folks like me. Tell me about what happened to you and how did your life change?
You know, as I was saying in the beginning there, my mother was a gospel singer, and so that she planted the seeds in her when I was a young child and everything. And then for years I just kind of never said much about it and everything. And then one day I was in a hotel room, and a man named Billy Graham came on. He started speaking, and I believed what he was saying, and before long I rededicated my life to Christ, and I started doing gospel music. Matter of fact, I have 16 gospel albums out now.
16 albums?
16,
And you wrote the song?
And I wrote every song and produced every song.
And there's 8 to 10 songs per album?
Every yes.
A couple of hundred songs, gospel
Yeah, just
alone.
Gospel alone.
Can you play us one or couple of 2 or 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Play us a Rockin Reggie Vincent gospel song.
Let's see. A rock and roll thing like that. Well, here, let me.
Play whatever you want to play.
Okay. Well, here's what I started when I saw John Lennon. I want to do a little bit, and then I'll do a few seconds. Let me warm up here. Well, bebopalula, she my baby. Bebopalula, don't mean baby. Bebopalula, she my baby. Palula, don't mean baby. Bebopalula, she my baby doll.
Whoa!
That's
Boy, does that bring back a lot of memories.
Through doing that, I met a guy in Jackson, Tennessee, and he inducted me into the Rockabilly Hall of Fame now.
Oh, wow.
I'm a member of the Rockabilly Hall of Fame.
And what's it mean to be a rockabilly? So that's rock and roll and hillbilly music?
Well, what it
how
is, it's Carl Perkins, Elvis Presley,
Sure.
Jerry Lee Lewis. That's the International Rockabilly Hall of Fame. So that's the one
So when we think about that music, that's rockabilly.
That's Rockabilly.
Okay.
And that's what, so they inducted me with that.
Play us another one.
Today in this little cafe, sit here all alone. This is an old song that I just wrote. Staring at old scars, should have left back home. But I never got over all you meant to me. 'Cause when it's dark and still, you know I feel the chill of your old memory. And I'll always remember your pretty smile. Wonder if you ever think about me once in a while. Thought we'd be forever, wasn't meant to be. But when it's dark and still, you know I feel a chill of your old memory.
Unbelievable. You caught me off guard with that one, Reggie, because when you first started singing that, I thought of my mom.
Oh, bless
Lost
you.
mom
Yeah.
last year, and what a beautiful song.
Yeah, thank
How
you.
does this come to you?
I don't
Does
know.
it come immediately and you pour it out on paper and through the music, through your guitar, or does it take time?
Well, it's usually come up with a melody, or sometime you like I feel a chill like that, a line like that. I like that line, and I usually try to write one song a day.
A day.
A day. I try to write. That's why I've written 2,000 compositions.
How do you know which ones make the studio albums and which ones don't?
It has to have a hook in it. It has to have a hook in it, and that's how I know.
Is that song on your new CD?
This is on my new CD. I Feel a Chill. And that.
I gotta watch listening to that song. You brought a wee tear to me eye.
You're great. I like that.
There he is, Rockin Reggie Vinson. New album, new book, and a new dream. Keep your dream alive. I'm keeping mine alive. You've helped me, and I appreciate you so much.
God bless you, and God bless you. Okay, thank you.
I sure hope you had as much fun today as I did. It's always such a joy to get to know these talented men and women professionals who make this wonderful game look so easy. They're not just fantastic golfers, though. You know, they're great people, too. Until next time, for all of us here at Match Play, I'm Ray Adams, wishing you long drives and long lives. I'll see you on the first tee. Many blessings.